To get to Capitol Hill now, where John Thune is speaking. Let's listen.
Talked about it in a State of the Union address, and this legislation has a number of important provisions. It reduces and cuts red tape, increases housing supply, makes some important reforms, like the President suggested the other night, which is to place restrictions on the ownership, institutional investor ownership of single-family houses. And so it's a great job by Chairman Scott and his team. This is a bicameral, bipartisan bill that includes a number of important Senate priorities. A number of our senators have had input into this bill, and it's a piece of legislation that strikes at the very heart of the issue of affordability. Particularly with younger Americans who are very concerned about their ability to experience the American dream and own a home. This legislation will make that more possible. On another issue, we are now 18 days into a second Democrat shutdown, and unfortunately it's Department of Homeland Security. Couldn't be worse timing. This is an agency that has obviously huge responsibilities and funds a number of important functions in our government, including our TSA agents who make it safe to fly. And so I'm hopeful that the Democrats will come to the conclusion that this is a really bad idea, particularly right now. As you all know, we live in a dangerous world, and that's abundantly clear. And there are 120,000 DHS employees who don't know right now whether or not they're going to get paid here in the very near future. And so I would hope that the Democrats would work with us. There's been a tremendous amount of outreach on behalf of the administration. The White House has worked to try and come up with provisions in this legislation that would help attract Democrat support. The Democrats at some point have to take yes for an answer. And so I just think it's really important, and 18 days into this now, second Democrat government shutdown, that because it is the Department of Homeland Security, which is responsible for defending and protecting the homeland, that the Democrats work with the White House and try and negotiate a deal that would allow that agency to be reopened again, for all the reasons I just mentioned. I'm going to hand it off now to Chairman Scott. As I said, he did a great job negotiating the Road to Housing bill, and I'll give him an opportunity to speak to that, and then we'll take your questions. Chairman.
Thank you. Promises made, promises kept. President Trump made a very important campaign promise on the campaign trail, and we are delivering. Both the House and the Senate passing historic housing legislation. The 21st Century Road to Housing Act really does meet the need. It focuses on local jurisdictions, number one. It removes red tape and unnecessary burdensome processes from the federal government, number two. And number three, it creates and will expand housing supply while focusing on affordability. It's so important. As a kid who grew up in poverty, my mother became a first-time home buyer at the age of 38. Today in America, that age is 40. How do we bring those prices down? How do we make it easier for your average person to experience their version of the American dream through home ownership? I think it starts by making sure that Washington understands solutions start at home. And so what you'll find in this legislation is we start in local jurisdictions. We start by making sure that both the House, the Senate, Republicans and Democrats do not see this issue as red versus blue, House versus Senate. We see this as taking care of Americans who desperately want to experience the American dream. We made that possible through legislation that passed the House 399-1, passed through the Senate unanimously. Now we find ourselves taking 20 to 21 provisions out of the House bill, out of 25, and 36 out of our 40, creating in harmony legislation that moves housing forward for the average American. And it's really good news.